You may often find the need to respond to key presses in a JavaScript project. The JavaScript problem we are going to deal with today is how we can respond to, capture, and retain keystrokes. Welcome to another tutorial from All Things JavaScript, where we help bridge the gap between novice and expert. Being able to respond to key presses is an important skill to have with JavaScript. Luckily, it is no different than responding to many other events. In this JavaScript problem, we are going to look at setting up a handler for key presses so that we can respond to them. We will then look at one possible application, which is to keep track of those key presses. I saw a similar post on Medium recently, and I think this JavaScript problem provides some important concepts. Let's take a look at it. Now, here is the code I have so far. I've set up an event listener with document for DOM content loaded. That's the event that we're responding to. And the reason I've done that is I want the HTML page to load before we start doing anything with the key presses. And so DOM content loaded is the event. And what happens when that gets loaded is it calls key capture. And this is where we're going to set things up. This is where we're going to deal with the key presses. So let's go ahead and do that. I want to attach another event listener to the document. So we'll use add event listener. Now, there are three different events you can use for capturing key presses. I'm going to use key down for this particular example. Now, key down is fired whenever a key is pressed. There is also key up. Key up is fired whenever a key is released. And the third event is key press. Now, key press is fired whenever a key is in the pressed position. But the difference between key press and key down and key up is key press will continue to fire as long as that key is held. So we're going to be using key down for this. Now, when that key down event occurs, we now need to enter a function that will handle what we're going to do with it. Now, the parameter we will enter for this anonymous function is e. And we want that, we need that, because that's going to capture the event object. And we need the event object in order to get the key information. So there we have our event, and it's ready for the code we're going to include. First thing I want to do is create a key variable, and we're going to set that equal to the event object.key. That is how we retrieve the key that is pressed. We have that event object.key. Now, just to see that, I'm going to do a console log statement of key. We'll just take a look at that really quick. So let me go ahead and save that. Open the console here. Now, one thing we need to make sure of is that when we're pressing keys, the console doesn't have the focus, which is what we're seeing right there. The console has a focus, so it's just simply typing it there. If I give the document the focus by clicking on it, now we can see our code is working. Now, notice what shows up when we press some of the other keys, like the shift key. We get the word shift, control key, alt key, enter key. So some of these other keys, these control keys, provide a word that indicates what they are. This meta key here is either the Windows key or the command key. So we see we're able to grab the key from the event object. All right, let's jump back there and do a little bit more. Now, here's what I'd like to do. I want to capture these keys and store them. So what I'd like to do is capture the keys that are pressed, and then when the enter key is pressed, I will simply display the list of keys that have been captured to the console, and then I'll reset that variable to nothing again. And then we can begin capturing keys all over again. So that's what I like to do. So first thing I want to set up is a variable to capture those keys, and I'm going to call it key series. And I'm going to set that equal to an empty array. We're going to use an array to keep track of those. I'm going to go ahead and comment out that console log statement. Down here, what we're going to do is an if statement. First thing we're going to check to see is if the key is equal to enter. Remember when we pressed the enter key, that was what showed up. And if that is the case, then we'll go ahead and log to the console the key series. So all the keys that have been pressed. And we'll also reset that by setting key series to an empty array again. Now, if it's not the enter key, then that's where we want to push the key onto our key series array. So this will allow us to keep track of the keys that are pressed and the order they are pressed. All right, let's give that much a try. So I'm going to press some letter keys here, a couple number keys, and then press enter. And there we see the keys showing up from that key array. And now just to check to make sure it emptied out that array, let me press a few additional keys, press enter. There we go. Those keys are now showing up and the others are not. So it cleaned out that array for us. Now let me press the Shift key, Control key, Alt key, press enter. As we can see, we're getting the Shift, Control, and Alt key. What if we wanted to control what keys we were receiving and only wanted to get alphanumeric keys, and that was all? Let's add that little bit of change to our code. So in order to do this, we need to check in the if statement if the key is one of those keys indicated, an alphabetic key or a numeric key. If it's not, we don't push it onto the key series. So to do that, I'm going to use a regular expression. I'm going to set it up here. Call it valid keys. This will have a pattern for the keys I want to accept. So basically what I'm going to do is use a character set that contains all of the keys that we will accept. Now notice I just did the lowercase, but I'm going to handle that down here. I'll convert the key to lowercase before I check it. So I have lowercase and I have numbers. Now one more thing we need to do with this regular expression is we need to indicate the start and end of the string. Because really the Shift key, Control key, those are letters as well, and so that would produce a match if we don't use that with the regular expression. Now I've mentioned this in the past, but if you're new to regular expressions, I just released a course about 3 months ago, and I'll provide a link in the description section to that course. So there we have our regular expression. We're ready now to check and make sure the key matches that pattern. So we're going to change our else to else if, and inside the parentheses, we're going to put our regular expression and do a test. We're going to use the test method of regular expressions in JavaScript. Test basically returns true or false. If there's a match, it returns true. If there's not, it returns false. So that works perfect for what we're trying to do here. And what are we going to test? What string are we going to test? Key.to lowercase. This is where I said I would address the lowercase issue, and we'll do that right here. All right, if that produces true, then it will push the key onto key series. So let's go ahead and save that. Let's see how that works for us. Now when I press enter, we see those keys. Now I'm going to press Shift, Control, Alt, F, G. Let's see what we get. We simply get the F and the G. So it eliminates those other keys. And it will even eliminate other characters. For example, slash, square bracket. If I press enter now, none of those show up. So there's our final bit of code for responding to key presses. In this case, the key down event. And then capturing those into an array and doing something with them. Before we're done here, please hit that like button. Also, if you want to dive deeply into JavaScript, I provided discount links to all my courses in the description section. And if you haven't subscribed yet, hit that button or click the circle link on the left, the one with my face. I release a new tutorial each week. You can also click the video link in the center to access another tutorial right away, or click the link on the right to visit my website, allthingsjavascript.com, for a complete list of tutorials and other resources. Thanks for watching.